than others is they fail to deal with the root cause of the infringement. That's not just ownership, having to deal with tribalism at the level that you have to understand to make it work properly for all of the inhabitants of any given country. To exclude other members of it works for nobody and it works to the detriment of the growth of a nation. We have to consider the ideology of what it represents for the whole. And until Africa reaches the stage of where it becomes a united African state, they're going to continue to experience this. I've watched the debates here just recently, yesterday evening, for the Democratic Party. Disappointingly, they continue to argue amongst themselves. While it's not a matter of what party is in charge, it's what they do when they have the charge, that responsibility to go with it. There's no real war on poverty in America or anywhere in the world. It is at the expense of a better society, the wholeness of a nation, and what we aspire to be. If you look behind me to my right and to your left, you see this wonderful flag behind us. That's the United States of America. Well, America has all of its aspirations tied into this flag, a history that surrounds the growth and development of this nation. Well, that's what Africans have to see in each of the 55 nations, that they matter, that their democracy is in their constitutions. However, unfortunately, infringement upon Africa by those who would be greedy or take advantage of those who have not the sophistication and some of the knowledge to achieve higher goals affects them directly because of the disenfranchisement within themselves. It's not just others coming in, white folks or anyone else trying to take and steal everything from Africa. Africans, just like black Americans, have a responsibility to their respective countries to deal with the nation for any nation. We fall short of the mark because we have not been what? We have not led by education and appropriate financing and the teachings that have to be done to change the minds of its leadership. I mentioned a moment ago that tribalism is a major issue. And until that's dealt with, they will continue to see the wars amongst themselves. And we all know what happened in Rwanda. We all know how that turned out. And we're glad to see that there's a foundation now in place that will give growth and opportunity to the Rwandan people. What about the other nations that are suffering? Africa has a 1.3 billion population, the second largest population in the world behind China. China is making inroads and dealing with their people successfully. They recently have become part and parcel to dealing directly with the African nations independently and hopefully some collectively. They're building roads throughout Africa to the interior. That's a big plus. That means wherever those roads lead, there will be other commerce to encourage local development. There are loans being made, as we know, which are the microloans. That's a good thing. But if you don't know where your greatest potential is for growth, you're almost funneling things in the dark. We need to be more focused in dealing with the needs of Africa. The United States itself has recently taken another position over the last 10 years and disinvestment in Africa. The last figures I saw were $50 billion, which are down from close to $100 billion some 10 years ago. That's the wrong way to go. And being able to do what? Provide genuine opportunity to eliminate as much disease, if at all possible, create as many job opportunities, and secure the wealth of the people who need the proper direction. We fall short of the mark by virtue of very foolish things. Most of us don't understand what democracy means. Democracy is successful only when you have capitalism. If you exclude capitalism, you're more than likely to have a failing economy. Capitalism cannot work under Marxism, socialism, communism, any of those isms that affect any culture. It doesn't survive. But it does work under a democracy. It encourages free trade. It encourages the opportunity for potential growth. It's inclusive of the particular countries. Only when we do that. And when you have a constitution that doesn't deal with the issue of democracy, and most of those constitutions, you'll find if you take the time to research it, that it does not include the word, or they don't include the words democracy. They may identify themselves as the Democratic Republic of A, B, C, or D, but take a close look at the Constitution. They don't talk about a democratic process, which means, well, what? We're facing the realities of another potential dictatorship. Dictatorships are there because we feed the wrong food to them, the wrong information. Term limits would restrict that. So if we had term limits, they couldn't be in office 40, 50, 60 years. You would see a marked change. Even in the United States, we have senators and congressmen and women in the Congress of the United States that have been there for 30, 40, 50 years. That's entirely too long. Absolutely too long. But if there were term limits, you don't have that process. You have an opportunity to do other things in relationship to it. It's always at the expense of the poor. We continue to create poverty. Poverty is not something that's natural. It's an abnormal way of living, existing. Poverty is created by humans. And we look at the wars and the pestilence and the continued conflicts worldwide. That comes because humans have one objective in mind, the human species. It saddens me, but I see it typically all over the globe. Humans killing humans. Humans wanting to genocide other humans. There's a big question. Why are we so bent on the destruction of other humans? Destroying the human race. No other animal or species on this planet wants to eliminate itself. None. All of them want to enjoy whatever benefits are available by and from the Creator. But the human species itself works overtime in attempting to destroy other humans worldwide. Why? There's no evidence of someone else. Remember in my closing statement that a flag of a nation is that nation's ability to be free, its desires, its aspirations for a different tomorrow, where it can have decent housing, clean water, and all the things that make us physically and psychologically healthy. Without those things, we repeat the mistakes of the past. So let's hope that this conference and others in the future will be a beginning point where we look at ourselves and not blame others for what we're not doing. I thank you so much for this.